Yeah. She,
Yeah.
I was like, do I wear it in the meetings?
Yes, yes, yes.
how was it?
It was nice.
It was nice.
It was real
Oh,
nice.
good.
It was
Oh,
very
that's what I
nice.
called you for the other day, to see how you made out. I think I called you Sunday or something.
It was real nice. It was a guy there, old dude, right? Who just started designing. This is his first year. Everything he had was hot.
Really?
I told my husband, I said, now we can't get a 5X of it,
Yeah,
but
right.
let's keep the mental
Yeah.
views of the scene.
So are we ready? You ready? Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call our Public Works Committee meeting to order, September 9th, 2024. We have present with us Councilwoman Gibson and Councilman Green, committee members, along with myself, Portia West, Chair. So I'd like to call for an approval of the minutes from April 22nd, 2024.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from April 22nd, 2024.
I second.
We do a roll call on that? We approve the minutes.
No.
We don't need
Everybody.
to. Okay, so the
Say
minutes,
all in favor?
Yeah, you can just say all in
all in
favor.
favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Questions? The approval went through, has passed. Next, we're going to have public comments on agenda items only. Hearing none, we'll move along. We're going to have a department head presentation by Mr. Andrew Heyman, Director of Public Works.
I think we got it there. Good. Sorry about that, council members. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here today. I've probably discussed, certainly Councilman West and myself have discussed this at some length. I was hoping to have a formal document here for you to consider for the meeting that comes right after this. Unfortunately, it's not ready yet. I believed it was ready on Friday, but now I understand that may not be the case. Nevertheless, I'm very confident this will be on the agenda for the meeting in 2 weeks. So the primary item, and the one I'll discuss first for this meeting, is a proposed ordinance amendment that I would like council members to consider. This is an ordinance which requires the contractors or those who are opening up the roadways here in Chester to be required to repave them or restore them from curb to curb when they do work. So currently, when I started, I went through our ordinances to take a look at things that may be relevant here, or how we handle things, and I did not find, and I now know there is not one ordinance which requires or stipulates what contractors are supposed to do, how they're supposed to restore our roadways when they come here and do work in the city of Chester. There are a few expectations, some of which what I propose touches on. They are not supposed to open up a roadway that's been repaved within 5 years. So if you're using city resources and you're out paving a street from curb to curb, Gesundheit, the contractors can't just go and open that road up a year later. They've got to wait 5 years. Obviously, if there's a special circumstance, there's a project that's got to get done, something breaks, it's unavoidable, there are allowances for that. Second is, and the most important one, is backfilling and repaving. It just says essentially that it needs to be up to the standard of the city, but it doesn't really say what that is. And so this would specifically clarify for contractors coming into the city what they're required or they're responsible to do. And then a few other discussions about funds going into a permit repaving fund. That is not, none of that conflicts with what I'm proposing. So this is Essentially, these are cookie cutter guidelines that I used in my previous position. I found it to be tremendously helpful in my previous position. If a utility was to come in and was to do a tremendous amount of work in the city, they were going to get every single gas line in front of every single house, then they would be required to repave the road, like I said, from curb to curb, and to do the base restoration, which is certainly a significant percentage of the problems, I guess is the way to put it, that degrade our roadways. So, you know, they come in, there are patches on the roadway along an entire side of a road. They seal them and then they go. Well, over years, those patches kind of sink in, the sealing fades or wears away, you start to get cracks, potholes. So it really just decreases the quality of the roadway. And especially on our residential roads, that's a real big it can be a really big hazard. Councilwoman, I'm sorry?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
Is there a reason for the 5-year wait?
That is a common number that I've seen in other ordinances and other municipalities. And actually, it mentions that in the one that I'm proposing, and it's what we have on the books now. I'm not sure where the 5-year comes from. Roads, they degrade based on their usage. Other factors can play a role. Is there a sinking utility line under a road? Is there, or a particular location that for whatever reason there's a business with a lot of heavy vehicles coming in and out of it? You'll find roads that need to be repaved every 4, 6, 8 years because they're so heavily trafficked, like 291. But if you go to some of our side streets, they may not get repaved for 30 years because they're just not getting a lot of traffic, and it really depends on weather, and it depends on the quality of the work when it was done. So I would say there are a number of factors. I would guess that is the point at which the road has aged somewhat. There may be other engineering answers, though.
Would that prevent
Speaking
any
to the mic, Councilman.
sorry. Would that prevent any other work from taking place if it needed to be?
No, if it needs to be done, it needs to be done. I mean, if somebody's sewer lateral slipping from the main line isn't connected, I mean, it has to get fixed. So in that case, we would do it. But it really is just put in there to discourage, people from saying, we're just going to get this thing done now. It's not urgent, but, if Aqua, I've seen this with utilities. Aqua comes in for a project, they've got some money to do something, they got to get it done. It's not actually urgent, it's not actually necessary. It could be done in 15 years, it could be done in 30 years. It's just, but they've chosen now for whatever reason to do it. It's just saying, no, you should have done it before the road program. You should coordinate with the city. If the city's going to pave a road, it should be paved in conjunction with that project. And I'll also say this, hypothetically, should save the city some resources because instead of going out and repaving these roads after the project's done, now we're holding the contractor responsible for repaving the street for residents. And it's not just every household, to be clear, and I'll read the guidelines here. The permittee shall include base repair, surface milling, and overlay for the full width of the cartway to include edge of paving to edge of paving, so curb to curb. For the greater of the entire block or 100 lineal feet under any of the following circumstances, where the street has been overlaid within the most recent 5 years. So if they open up the roadway, they've got to repave it from curb to curb, if it's been in that 5-year timeline. Where openings of more than 25 square feet have been made within 200 lineal feet. So, if you've got a number of openings on a roadway, so you're not dealing with those patches. And where an opening of 50 continuous linear feet has been made. So like a trench for fixing, let's say, a sewer line or something like that. And that's basically it. It's relatively simple. I copy-pasted this from what we had drafted previously in my previous position. And I would say most municipalities, I don't have a number, but most municipalities that I'm aware of are adopting similar language in our ordinance.
Are there any additional questions or comments from the committee? I'd just like to make a comment that I've been a part of the Public Works Department for 15 years now, and I've seen where repairs have been made to some of our roads, and then there's some work that comes after the repair has been made, maybe a few years down the road, and the vendor will go in and fix whatever the problem is, but then they would do these patches, and I'm seeing, just like on 23rd Street near the Walnut Apartments, we have sinkholes, a few sinkholes up there where work has been done, you know, but it wasn't put back to its full restoration. And so we're being inundated with sinkholes throughout the city. And I think to require that a contractor does curb to curb would be a benefit to us, and then, you know, the appearances of our roads won't look so bad.
That's exactly it. That's exactly what I'm looking to, you're correct, stuff like that. So.
Anyone else have a question? Any comments from the public?
So, council members, I have another item to discuss here. Again, not a formal.
Are we able to discuss that other item? Oh, you advertised it? Okay,
Yeah.
great, great.
So this was, and I apologize, this was intended to be a joint Public Works and L&I committee meeting today. And Councilwoman Gibson, I understand you're the chair of L&I?
Yes.
So I've been speaking with Ms. Hall for the last couple months, I would argue. One issue that I identified, I would say, starting on my first day here, is that there is an obvious disconnect between the L&I department and the Public Works department with regard to property maintenance and abatement issues. That's not a critique of that department, but they are, as everyone in this room I'm sure is aware, inundated with tasks, rental inspections, other property maintenance issues, issuing violations, things of that nature. But there's and I don't need to lecture any of you, there's an awful problem here in the city with illegal dumping. And some of it, I would argue, can be broken down. Most of it, I would say, could go to two categories. The first is, I'm coming in here from another municipality or even another state, and I'm dumping garbage on the street at night when nobody's looking. But there is also a fair amount of, I've seen now, particularly in the area around Widener, rental properties dumping out 5 mattresses and, furniture and 25 garbage bags, stuff that does not come close to bulk trash collection, and they dump it on the sidewalk. And there are odors, and there could be, for all we know, chemicals. Sometimes it's from a home rehab. Sometimes it's just turning over a tenant. But we get complaints in my department about it all the time. And I believe that we already have a mechanism in place for the city to be compensated for that work. We can abate that work. I've spoken to Mr. Schuster about it. There is an emergency clause. We can get to it if someone identifies, hey, we've got a serious issue over on 22nd Street, and the piles of garbage in front of somebody's house. Neighbors should not be subjected to that. I know you get calls about it, so we get calls about it. So what I propose to do, and with the support and cooperation of Ms. Hall, is move several of their inspectors that are currently employed here down to the Public Works Department to work more closely with our staff. And what they would do is they'd be shifted away from rental inspections, so they wouldn't be doing rental inspections or home sales anymore. They would only focus on property maintenance. And I envision these positions broken up into zones of the city, roughly, if not exactly drawn based on our trash collection days, which I think do a good job sort of capturing particular issues that, the West End is going to face different issues than Overtown, and Overtown is going to face issues that Sun Hill is not facing. And so, having people broken down by these areas and being familiar with the problems in these areas, I think will go a long way to not just, patching over issues as they come up or Band-Aids on injuries, but, actually resolving them. We've got dump sites that are, as you all know, never ending. I have gotten complaints about one location between 23rd and 24th and Walnut 3 or 4 times in the last 2 months that I've been here. And we just got another complaint about it on Friday. So it's targeting these locations and identifying them. It's holding people who are these are crimes, holding them accountable for those crimes. But then also making sure that landlords who are bad actors in the city, many aren't bad actors, obviously. I don't want to scapegoat them, but, that do this stuff, are compensating our employees. And what's happening right now in the Public Works Department, if you're not aware, is that we are burning through equipment at a faster rate than we should. We have a $160,000 front-end loader that's got, I think it's only a year or two old, and it's got multiple years of use beyond that on it because it's driving all over the city every day getting these dump sites. And so, and it's on the proposed schedule of fees. I don't know what the timeline is for that, but there's a list of costs that I put into that, and when that's passed, which this is I'll explain the timeline in a moment. We'll be able to go through and say, hey, we used a front-end loader for 2 hours, we had 2 employees working for an hour, and we're charging these property owners the overtime rate, because now employees who would otherwise be cleaning up our parks or doing other work around the city are instead cleaning up from a dump site. And so they're busy dealing with garbage that they shouldn't have to be dealing with. And to make up for it, they're going to have to do that work later. It frequently incurs overtime in the city. So it's completely appropriate for that, plus administrative fees, to be tied to an abatement or to an invoice for an abatement. And if that abatement isn't paid within 30 days of the invoice, then there would be a lien filed against the property. Now, if that property is sold, then the city can be compensated for the work, if not at a later date. And so my proposal is bringing those people in-house, make it easier for them to work more directly with the staff that are actually cleaning up the issue, faster response times, avoid duplication of efforts between departments, and avoid miscommunications. And then also, at the same time, gives those people the ability and the flexibility to work with homeowners who are struggling, because we also have a lot of people who are struggling with mental health issues, who are lower income, who we're not looking to punish for their situation, that we can work with them. And it gives a person the flexibility to say, hey, look, I'm going to put a reminder in our system. I'm going to come back here in a couple weeks, see how you did, maybe get you in touch with some resources if you need help, Habitat for Humanity, maybe other nonprofits or churches, for example, sometimes do this in the community, and just to give us that flexibility to be delicate and work with people intimately instead of, all right, I've got 9 inspections I got to do now. Because that's what ends up happening, is the property maintenance stuff doesn't get done. And so we've spoken to the union about this. I don't want to get into all of that because some of that may be personnel related, but there's an agreement on board about the process and a timeline that will be given. Employees will have the opportunity to bid on the positions, and then there will be a 90-day period where they'll be given to get International Property Maintenance Code certification to issue violations, and then the opportunity to extend as long as people are working and doing what they're supposed to be doing. But that is my proposal. That would come with, potentially in the future, some ordinance amendments that may come out of L&I, could come out of Public Works, but I think it'll give us ability to be more hands-on. And my hope is that in the next couple of months or years, we'll be able to show you that this is revenue neutral or revenue generating, that the city can compensate itself with the fines and fees that are collected from doing the work in the first place, and that we have the ability and the need to expand that work even further.
So would that take, when you're saying you want to take individuals from L&I to Public Works, have you spoke with Ms. Hall about that at all?
Yes, at length. Actually, I took her out on a tour with some of my staff and even showed her examples of cleanups and the things that I would like people to do and my concerns. And she's completely on board with that. It would be rededicating 2 people. They would just report to work in Public Works instead of in license and inspections.
And would there be any requirements, like do they have to be licensed? What guidelines are they going to be following as far as the position that they're in?
So they would be required to get IPMC certified, International Property Maintenance Code certification, to be able to issue violations. I'm not IPMC certified myself, but it's like a $64 training course, and they can do it online, and then they have to pass a test. I think it's probably not particularly more complicated than a notary, but again, I haven't done it myself, and I actually failed the notary test years ago, so I might not be a good example.
So the IPM is for what?
The IPMC certification is to allow them the ability to issue violations lawfully. It's just, basically, it's like a very, it's sort of, think of it like a basic overview course of property maintenance issues, how to identify them, how to document them, how to address them. And again, I can get you a little bit more information if you want about that course and how that works.
I have a relative that took the test, and it was, I've seen some of the things that were on there, but I wanted to know what was the IPM stand for my own understanding.
Yeah. It's the International Property Maintenance Code.
Property. You said they take this test to give them the ability to write
Yeah, to issue violations.
violations, okay.
Yeah. So,
Is the L&I department, I thought the L&I department was understaffed.
well, I would defer to Ms. Hall about that. There are certain aspects of the job. I don't know how close they are with in rental
Because
inspections.
if they're understaffed, how are they going to be able to afford to have, you said 2 or 3 of their employees,
Two.
2 of their employees transfer to another department without it affecting the current workload that they already have?
Well, I would defer to Ms. Hall about that. I would say that I guess my first thought is that we probably, if I had to guess, frankly, like if this, so this is moving 2 people. I already have 1 inspector, so it would move it to 3 inspectors, and then I believe there's 1 that we're requesting for in the '25 budget. And if that position is approved as well, that would mean 4, which would be 1 per zone that I'm asking. But I honestly think we need closer to 9 right now. I expect this to decrease because people get sick, they take vacations, they deserve to be able to not be there one day, and then there's nobody in a zone, and then somebody comes in and dumps 10 couches on a lot. So I think it's something we need to be able to have the flexibility to overlap, and even with what I'm proposing, we won't have the flexibility to do that.
Ms. Hall?
Yeah, I sent her an email, text for her to come.
But I can't speak to whether or not this is currently a responsibility that would be under that department anyway. So whether that, I would say, and I'm Ms. Hall, I don't want to speak for her now that she's here especially, I would say that we definitely need, I would vouch for her and advocate for her that we need more staff in some of these departments. And I recognize I'm not asking for that right now and there are limitations, but
And then some of the work would be coming over as well.
yeah, so that property
So,
maintenance
you know,
aspect.
be personnel, but some of that work would be coming over from L&I as well, the property maintenance work.
So
Yeah.
Are you saying you need a total of 9 individuals?
My opinion, and I'm not asking for that today, and I'm not suggesting this be put on the table. I want to show you first that this is valuable, that this is working, make sure that this is truly the plan that we want to go with. My opinion is that we would need 9 people just for property maintenance. That's a just guesstimate, frankly, based on the volume of issues that we encounter, and that would allow the city to enforce ordinances a little more closely to what they're even written. But again, I recognize limitations, and so I'm not asking for that today.
Ms. Hall, I sent you an email for you to come so that we all could be on the same page. I just wanted you to come, and I thank you for showing up. And Mr. Heyman said that he did speak with you.
She said,
Talking to Mike.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Mr. Heyman did say that he spoke with you about transferring 2 individuals to Public Works, and you guys are in agreement with that. And so just to piggyback off of Councilman Green, is that going to take away from what you currently have in L&I? And if it is, how do we fix that?
Can you speak at the mic? We're live. Got some folks watching.
Stand up here. So currently, we are doing housing inspections and complaints. And the complaints include what Public Works deals with, which is the high weeds and grass, the trash and debris on a lot of the properties. Our housing inspections include that, along with, we do the interior of the building and the structure itself. And because we have, we're kind of crossing paths with Public Works, with the high weeds and grass and the debris, it made more sense to have, and when I came in, I said, because we had such an overabundance of complaints, I felt like we had our guys doing two things. And I was like, well, maybe I should make 2 of our guys do the Public Works part of it, which I consider kind of Public Works. And then the 6 gentlemen do the housing inspections and the exterior of the building. And the funny thing is, he came to me maybe like a few weeks later and said, we need people, I need 2 guys, because I only have 2, to do, the debris and the high weeds and grass. And I said, that's funny, because I was going to separate our guys out, because I wanted to concentrate, I wanted to have guys, what we say is stay in a lane. So you concentrate in the lane that you're in. And so if I had the guys doing the complaints, I thought that they can concentrate better on that. And then the people doing the housing inspections could concentrate better on that. And then we have, our clerks and our admin people also taking in these complaints and also our inspections. So I also do need that, schedulers and more people to take in those things, but because it's a heavy abundance of complaints coming in. And even people within our city, in the city hall, have complaints. So I realized that. So that was our thought process. And so we were trying to make that happen. And would it affect, apparently we have 12,000 rental properties, but only about 6,000 have registered. So we are trying to work on that and trying to make sure we get on top of that to get people registered. We do the inspections every 3 years. So I kind of did a number to divide out, the amount of inspections divided by the amount of days, and it didn't seem like it was that many that we would need the 8 people. Now, if that becomes, a greater number, then maybe that will affect us down the line. But right now, I didn't feel like it would affect us.
Thank you.
In the past, too, I've experienced when I was director of Public Works that there was an overlapping of the 2 departments. And L&I or Public Safety would contact Public Works about those trash issues up on the property. And if you have an absentee landlord, then you're not going to get that absentee landlord to come and do what they're supposed to do on their property. We have one at 4th and Rainey. Every year, the Public Works guys take care of that property only to satisfy the residents, because the owner, who lives in New Jersey, never comes and cuts that grass. And so what we have been doing, there's a sheet. It's a sheet that you fill out. And, you list the property and what has to be done, and then how many men were used and their hourly rate, and then the equipment that's used and the rate for that, and it's very expensive. And then what legal has always done in the past is put a lien on the property, but we never collect on that. We never get the money for it. We're losing money. So this is something that I feel will help us to have a better grip on what's going on. And then the ultimate goal is to get people into compliance and then to make our community look better.
I think that it covers exactly the goal. And I would say that landlords that have liens for trash, sewer, or for abatements like this, and I don't want to speak for Ms. Hall's department, by law, we can withhold their rental license, and then they can't rent it out. And if they continue, then they can be fined for that. So there's a lot of stuff that can be done with this. I would just say from our department's perspective, this year, based on the trajectory, we're going to spend, the city of Chester will spend more than $200,000 just in the tipping fees for the garbage that's picked up off people's, off streets and properties.
Oh, yeah.
Just for that. That's not counting wear and tear on vehicles, which is significant. That's not counting hourly wages, which is significant. And that's not counting the opportunity cost, the things that we're not getting done because our staff are busy cleaning up these dump sites. I would tell you this is every bit of a $1 million a year problem for the city of Chester. And that doesn't count the affecting people's lives because they've got to live around this stuff. And it doesn't count home values being decreased and things like that, because this is, it's an eyesore and it's unsightly. And that's not counting potential toxic chemicals like lead. We've got a lot of construction dump sites here. Homes built before 1978 generally will always have lead paint or asbestos or anything else. So, I mean, this is just, and I don't even think this will make the city whole, frankly, but if we can come a little bit closer to compensating the city and getting more of it at the same time. That's my ultimate plan for this.
So is there a way that we can keep those who are not compliant from doing future business in the city?
I think that's,
Well, I think that would probably
Isn't
be
that the goal?
more under the L&I department. Ms. Hall, do you want to say anything, or? Here.
I think when you're talking about non-compliance, you're talking about these dump sites.
In many cases, yeah. So if their properties are in shambles and they have liens or fines.
Not just the dump sites.
Just the non-compliant properties.
Yes.
So we do have things in our ordinance to deal with that, but at the end of the day, it does end up being liens. But, as far as withholding registrations, and if they want to get permits, we do withhold those things until they become compliant. But the harder part are the people like Councilperson West said, that live in Jersey and they have properties here, and all we're doing is putting liens on their property. So I think we as a team need to work on trying to figure out how we tackle those people.
Absolutely.
So I would like to work on trying to do that.
and there are landlords who hide under LLCs too. They're buried, as you know, you're in real estate. And, that's how they get away with a lot of things. We have that situation at 25th and Providence Avenue where we have all those logs on the property. And they say that they're not running a business, but the logs, you keep seeing more and more logs coming in. So it seems to me that those entities that, get rid of trees for homeowners, they're storing those logs or trees there and on that property. But there's a wonderful opportunity there because if we could get rid of the debris, then there's an opportunity to make a beautiful green space behind there. So they're also looking at opportunities to make the city look better as well, by bringing these landlords, these non-compliant people who trash our city every day. They want to bring them into compliance so that when people come to Chester, they're not always saying, oh, Chester is a mess. Chester is this. Chester's not that. We want to get rid of that image. And Ms. Hall and Mr. Heyman are individuals, and I want to thank you both for your care and concern for our community. We know you're relatively new, but you've hit the ground running because, I see that you care and you really want to make things better. So I appreciate that, and I applaud you for it.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you so much. It really means a lot to me. I really appreciate it. Timeline-wise, I think the goal would be to have the street opening ordinance on the agenda for the meeting on the 25th for first reading and then for final approval in October. For this proposal that we have before you, I believe there will be a resolution to dedicate these employees down to the Public Works Department. Once the employees have been chosen, then it will come to council for, and I forget the wording exactly. Ms. Neal or Ms. Newsom, feel free to jump in. I'm not remembering the wording, but I'm sorry, what?
For what resolution?
Yeah, to move the employees down to the Public Works Department. I think it would have to be, I think we understood it, maybe it has to, it doesn't, okay, all right. Well, I'll leave it at that. I'll figure out that timeline a
We'll
little later for
figure
you.
it out, you know.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
but it really would be a help to both departments to deploy those individuals to Public Works, and we could get more done. And then they'll all be trained, have the certifications, because what's happening now, a lot of people don't have the certification. And I understand that these businesses and what have you, they laugh at us, you know what I mean? We have to have the certifications, provide these individuals with the certifications. They have to go after them.
Yes.
So are there any other additional questions? Anyone from the audience have a question? You, Councilman? Is everyone satisfied here on the committee?
Yes.
Okay, we don't need a motion to adjourn.
You can do it.
So if there's nothing else, then I will adjourn this Public Works Committee meeting. Thank you, everyone.